Welcome to our second official class, guys. Today we're going to be learning about lists and conditionals. So, for those of you guys who came here last time, we learned about a lot of things like basic things like variables, data types, concatenation, basic math operators and stuff. So today we're going to be learning that's something that is, I guess, a better form of. Amner just wanted to join, but then his request just got canceled. I don't know. He'll request again. But yeah, we're going to be learning about lists, which are, if you know other languages, they're also known as arrays, and conditionals, which some of you guys probably know. So we're going to go ahead and start. There's Abner.
So our agenda for today, we're going to do a brief review of what we did last class, and then we're going to start with lists and then end class with conditionals today.
Yeah, so you guys can take some time, read over the agenda. Should be pretty easy. I mean, lists are, I guess, kind of a hard concept. Conditionals are also pretty hard if you're new to programming, but if you guys have any programming experience before, it should be pretty easy. Even if you guys don't, we'll make sure you guys get it. So we'll go on. Oh, wrong thing. All right. So, review. Okay, so last time, we were here, we learned how to use print statements. And then, that's just print and then item. I think we all know how to do that. It's like printing to the debug console. We also learned about that last time. And how to take an input. It's just going to be input and then item. 4 primitive data types in Python. Primitive as in basic data types. So they're going to be the ones that you use most of the time. Being integers, strings, floats, and booleans. So booleans we actually didn't use that much last time, but today is going to be very boolean heavy. Integers you're going to be using all the time because coding is STEM based and math is one of STEM, so you need integers a lot. Strings you're going to be using that a lot too. Floats not as much, but yeah, they're still there. How to typecast and why it's actually going to be useful. Typecasting is very helpful in a lot of cases, and hopefully you guys remember how to do that. So integer, you can cast int and then string, bool, and then float. Concatenation, I think this is a pretty easy concept too, just combining 2 things together. Variables, which are just little containers for different things. So you can store integer.
You don't have to read them out.
Yeah, Eric Intelligence false. Pi is 3.1415. My master's do homework, and there should be a quote at the end. I think I forgot to put it. We'll fix that later. But math operators. These are some things that I forgot about last time were these things that come later. So plus equals, minus equals, times equals, divided equals, floor division equals, modulus equals, and exponential equals. So I'll go ahead and demonstrate that right now. So we're gonna go into Replit again. I recommend that you guys have a Replit page open while we do our lesson, so you guys can follow along and experiment. Who here doesn't have a Replit account? Because I'm sure some of you guys are new. So,
I'm pretty sure only Austin is new, right? Everyone else here.
He wasn't here last time, but he said he watched the video. So, yeah. Does any of you guys not have a Replit account? If so, please type in the chat right now, or else I'm just gonna move on. Alright, looks like everybody has a Replit account. So, yeah, please open a new REPL and follow along. Well, you don't have to follow along here, but, I advise for later in the lesson, you follow along. So, first things first, let's see if you guys remember data types. So we're going to make a variable called var. Terrible name, but it's okay. And we're going to put in a thing. So, can somebody tell me what data type that is? In the chat, or you can unmute and speak, doesn't really matter, but somebody tell me what data type that is. String, correct. It is a string. And how do you know? It's because you have these quotation marks here. These quotation marks means that it's a string, and it could be a single quote too, as long as the opening and closing are the same, and usually it's better if you stay consistent with it inside the program. What about this? Can you guys tell me what variable type or data type that is? the chat, float, correct, because it has a decimal point. It doesn't matter. Even though this is just 3, it has a decimal point, so it's a float. What about something like that? What would that be? An integer. Y'all are fast. And then finally, these things that we're gonna use today a lot. Correct. Or it's not called bool. It's called boolean, but bool's a short term for it, so it's alright. Okay, so now I'll just demonstrate to you what plus equals, minus equal, all this crap is. So we're gonna just go ahead and create 2 integers. So first is gonna be num1. Give me a random number, anybody? 12. All right, cool. 12. And then we're just gonna print right away. So we're gonna do print num, or is that? Yeah, that's not really that. Yeah, that doesn't really showcase how good it is. Plus equals basically, if I were to do num1 plus equals, give me another number, somebody.
2.
Okay, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2. So that basically means that's a short-term version of saying num1 equals num1 plus 4, 3, 2, 1, 2. So that's just this line and this line are the same thing. So if I did that and then I printed num1, what do you think the result will be? And you have to be pretty good at math to do this. So somebody, yep. And then if I were to print this, it'll be exactly that, as Raj said. So 4, 3, 2, 2, 4. That's how this works. And in similar fashion, because I don't like negative numbers, I'm just gonna change this up. Maybe add like a few 9s in front of it. And I don't expect you guys to calculate this, but if I were to do this, kind of the same thing. That basically means num1 equals num1 minus 4, 3, 2, 1, 2. So if I run this, you're gonna get this number. Cool number. And then times equals, same concept again. I don't want the number to get too big, so we're just gonna do multiply by 2. So that means num1 equals num1 times 2, which is just this. And I'm sure you guys know what divided equals. I'm not gonna do that. So floor division. Who remembers what floor division does? Anybody in the chat can tell me what floor division does? Very brief summary of it. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it drops the remainder completely and leaves just the quotient. And yeah, only whole numbers. So if I were to do this, what will the output be? 3, correct? Because 3 goes into 10 only 3 times. Again, this is the same thing. If you're getting confused here, don't worry. This is just the same thing as this. So you guys are probably used to doing this. This is just a shorter way of doing it, and how some people prefer to do it. I mean, it's personal preference. This is just shorter, and some people do it. So I'm just teaching you guys this, so you guys don't get confused when you see this. Now in comparison, modulus. Can somebody tell me what that does? Modulus, or I mean, as you guys learned it previously, it's like that. So somebody tell me what modulus does. Yeah, it gives a remainder. So what would this print? Num1 mod equals 3. Correct. Because 10 divided by 3, it gives you 3 with a remainder of 1. So that's why it prints 1. It's really pretty useful. Wait. Yeah, this is really useful. And I'll explain why. If you use this with conditionals, it can be actually used to determine if the number's odd or even. And then, again, this stuff's just exponents. So 10 equals, or num1 equals num1 to the third, which is just going to be 1000 or something. Yeah. So yeah, that's just, basic stuff. I think we all get the concept. So anybody have any questions regarding what we did last week, or what the little bit of new math we learned today? Anybody? Questions? I'll wait like 10 seconds for any questions. Yeah, it looks like nobody has questions, so we're just gonna move on. And by the way, if you guys have questions, don't be afraid to ask. You can always just unmute yourself and butt in, or just type in the chat anytime you want. Eric will keep an eye out on the chat, right? And he's gonna notify me when you guys ask questions. So, and don't be afraid to ask questions. If you don't ask questions and you don't understand the concept, coding is very difficult to learn. So, yeah, make sure you guys are asking questions. So next thing we're gonna do is a little bit of congratulations. So go ahead.
All right, good job, Siraj. You had a great project last week, and then you were like one of the only ones who submitted a project actually, but you did a great job with it. Just wanted to shout you out.
Yeah, I mean, okay. So one thing here, I think Emil and Siraj are the only ones who turned their projects in this class, and kudos to them. Like the only way to learn how to code well is if you do a lot of work by yourself and you experiment, play around with the code, and yeah, you really have to spend time. It's not one of those things where you just learn it, memorize it, and it's over. You have to really. It's almost like muscle memory. The more you type, like print or input, like the more used to it you get. So the easiest way, the best way to learn coding is just practice a lot. And these homework assignments, I'm not just giving it just to like torture you guys or like waste your time. It's really helpful. In this, I mean, to be honest, the homework I'm giving is very minimal. Like it might take like somebody new to do it, maybe like an hour at most. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, to be fair, yeah. But this time, the new project's going to be pretty fun. So, we're not that fun. I mean, it's not fun, but it's better than Mad Libs, okay? So, you don't have to type as much. But yeah, this is really good. You put in a lot of good effort. So yeah, do your homework, please. It really helps with, your coding. I cannot emphasize how important it is to do practice with your code. Like it's not all about memorization. So please do your homework. Yeah. So we're gonna talk about lists in Python. Now this is a new concept, so please pay attention. This is gonna be pretty difficult. If you're learning this for the first time. So you guys all know what variables are. Variables, if you think about it, they're kind of just like a little container. So like a water bottle like this, right? Like this is a variable. And then the item in the variable is water because I have water in this water bottle, right? But lists are like a container of variables. So basically, that's like if I had another water bottle here and a water bottle here, and like when you go to like Costco, like there's like big like those big Deer Park like water like boxes. I don't even know what they are. But like I'm sure you guys have seen them before. Like those are pretty much lists, right? They're a collection of unordered or ordered items. And they're pretty much same thing as lists in real life. Like if you look at the image that we have up here, they're like the same thing. It's just like a to-do list or like items. So how you declare a list, you're gonna like a regular variable declaration, right? Remember how when we used to do variables, we just make up a name and do equals and whatever we want here. To declare a list, it's just simply going to be these square brackets. So my list equals square brackets, and make sure you close them. If you don't close them, it's going to throw you an error. So initializing a list, it's the same thing, except you guys can actually just put in stuff here. This is usually not recommended because you want to make your program dynamic, which means that you want to make your program so it adjusts to any condition. You don't want to hard code stuff, and you don't want to be like, oh, this is my list, and it's always going to be my list. But it's better if you make a list dependent on what the user wants to put in there. But if you want to initialize a list, then this is how you do it. You're just going to put a list, make a list with these square brackets, and then between each item, you're going to just put in a little comma. And the spacing doesn't really matter, you can do whatever. But each element. And something very unique about Python is that Python lists can actually have different data types in them. So if you've done Java or I think JavaScript too, you can't have other data types in the list. So if you have a list, and let's say the first element's an integer. So if you have a list and it starts with like 5, right? That's an integer. and then the next item is like a string like hello world, it's not going to work. It's going to break. In Python, you can actually have that happen. So you can do mylist equals hello, which is a string, 246, which is an integer, true, which is a boolean, 3.14, which is a float. So you guys can actually, have as many data types as you want. And you can also print out lists. So we're just going to quickly demonstrate that real quick. This is pretty easy so far. So we're going to make a list. We're going to call it my list, and then we're going to just do this. That does nothing. It just creates an empty list. So we're just going to go ahead and print my list. And if you print this, it's just going to print square brackets, I think. Yeah. This is just a list. It looks like a rectangle, but there's a little space in there. It's 2 square brackets. Now let's initialize it. So we're gonna put in, somebody give me anything I can put in there. Boolean, string, integer, float, anything. So I'll be waiting for some interaction. No, it doesn't. 3.132. Okay, 3.132. Can somebody give me something else? Hello. Okay. So again, these are 2 different data types. This one's a float. This one's a string. And as Wasi asked, it doesn't really matter. I can do this or this or this. I mean, I never tried it like this, so I don't even know if this will actually work. But it'll probably work. And if I printed this, it's gonna just print out our list, which is 3.132 and hello. So yeah, that's how lists work and how you can print them. That's messy. So I'm just gonna. The way I like to do it, I just like to comment into a little space because that's how they print it. This is just convention. And in programming, it's pretty important. It's fairly important to follow conventions because programmers are egotistical, and if you don't follow their conventions, they're gonna call you a trash programmer. So remember, if you don't camel case, if you make it like my list, they're gonna roast you. So you have to camel case. You have to follow conventions unless you want to get roasted and rage quit programming. You have to follow conventions. It's very important. You can also put in booleans or integers, and then it'll still print everything. List, you can just put in whatever you want in list. It's like I can put in water in here, air. I can put in a eraser or pencil in here. I can put it in my phone if it fits in here. Yeah, I can put in anything, right? So lists are very convenient. And you might be wondering, why the heck would I want to, use lists? But we'll talk about that soon. And yes, I am speaking from experience. I've been flexed on a lot by other programmers. Yeah.
And so next up is list indices. And then list indices are essentially like the position of the element within the list. If you guys look at the picture on the top right corner, the list here includes P, R, O, B, and E, right? And so a list always starts at 0 and ends at whatever it is. And so it can also be a negative indice. So let's say you have a list at 5. So the negative would start at E and then -5 would be at P. And so there's different things you can do with lists. You could access the elements in the list using index. So to do that, you just do my list equals 1. So this would essentially print out whatever is in the indice 1. So in the case of the picture, it would just be R. And then you could also do negatives. So my list -2 would be B. And then you can also access multiple indices. So that would be a range of indices. And then if you look at the example here, my list 1 through 4 would just print out the letters between 1 and 3. So it actually doesn't go up to 4. It just ends at the number before 4. So it would go from 1 to 3. So it would print out R, O, and B. And then another example is my list :3. That would actually print out everything between 0 and 3. And then there's also my list 3: It's different from :3. And so for the third one, it would print out everything from 3 to the end. So in this case, it would just be B and E.
Yeah, so basically, recapping what he said, indices are, singular term is index. It pretty much indicates the position of the element in a list. So index is 0. And this is really important. Python's 0 index. I think for most popular languages, they're also 0 indexed. Yeah. But this is a pretty much saying the first element of my list, right? So this is going to be a list. So this is kind of like the same thing as doing bracket P comma R comma O comma B comma E bracket. This is saying the 0th element, or as humans will say, first element of the index is P, and the second element or first index is R, and then on and on. And as Eric said, negative indices just go backwards. But here you don't start at -0 because that's just 0. So you start at -1 and then you go from back. And hopefully you guys understand these. I mean, these aren't really not that useful, but these are pretty useful and important. You'll have to know these to do your homework and stuff. So make sure you guys have a good concept of this and a good grasp. So you're basically setting a letter equal to my list of 1. And in this list, I forgot to close a parentheses. Oh no! In this list, the first index, as you can see here, is R. It's not this one because it's 0 index, which means it starts at 0. So first index is R. So letter will now be R. So that's how indices work. So anybody have any questions? Questions? Anybody? No? No questions. Is there a use for specifically using negative indices? Yes, because sometimes you just want to go from the back. And I mean, in Java, I usually do length of like the list -1 to indicate the last value, but that's kind of complicated. So negative indices are just like a shortcut. I mean, if you don't prefer using it, it's okay. But I prefer using it in Python. I think Java should have it too, but it doesn't. So I think it's just a convenience thing. And there's not a really specific use. But another convenient thing is if you're gonna like go from the beginning and to the end, and then you're just gonna decrease by 1 like this, then you can also do like times -1 to like make it correspond to each other. But yeah, there are some cool things you can do with negative indices. But yeah, that's up to like what kind of project you're working on and personal preference. So any other questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
What's the syntax for accessing the range?
The range? What do you mean range? Like the length of the list?
The range of the indices.
So the length, right?
Like the 3 examples on the bottom, the top one doesn't seem to be following the same pattern as the other 2.
Well, yeah. So this one's saying that this is basically creating another list, right? So my list and then bracket 1:4, this just returns another list. So shorter lists just be another list. But this is saying that you take everything from the first index, which is R, 4th index, but one before that, so 3. So it's saying 1, 2, 3. It's kind of like you don't include this last one, but up till that. So you're gonna take R, O, B, and that's gonna be your new list. Like here, R, O, B. And for here, this is a different way of doing it. But this is :3. So there's no element in front of it, right? So that means you start at the beginning and you go all the way up until the element before 3. So you're just gonna do the 0th index, first index, second index. So PRO, pro, and you print it out here as a list. And then here's the opposite example. So this there's 3 colon and nothing after. That means that you start at the 3rd element, the 3rd index, and then you just go all the way to the end. So you're just gonna get BE because 3rd index is here. So BE, and that is basically how these work. Did that answer your question, Aiden?
I guess the rule would be that whatever number before the colon is included, like for the first bullet point, R, which is index 1, is included, and E, which is 4, is excluded, and that follows the
it's like domain and range in math. It's like the same thing. This is the starting, this is the ending, and if it doesn't have a starting, you're assuming it's 0. If it doesn't have an ending, you're assuming it's the end. So this is like 0. That's like infinity. It's like math. Colon basically means until the next number comes. Yeah. So it's like from 1 to 4, or from 0 to 3, or from 3 to infinity. It's like that. So, I mean, I can demonstrate it. We can go to Replit. I mean, I do understand this is a complicated subject, so we can take some time doing it. make sure to chat up. So let's just add some more elements for fun. Oops. Alright, so now we have more elements, right? So we're gonna, make a new array. So new list. I keep saying array. Okay, new list, and that's gonna be equal to my list. So that's calling my list, which is this bigger list we have. And then we're gonna do brackets, and then in here we're gonna, well, let's first start with a specific index. So if I wanted to get, let's see, hello from this my list, what number do I have to put in here? Somebody can type in the chat. 1, right, because it's 0 indexed. So if I type in 1, that's gonna grab hello for me. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and print new list. And in this case, new list is actually just gonna be an integer or a string. So it's not gonna be a list actually. But if I were to make it into a range, right? So let's do from the first index to 5th index. So what do you guys think that would print? So 1:5. So what do you guys think that will print out? And you guys have to include the brackets. So the whole thing. No, it will not do the whole thing. 3.221 too high. No, it will not do that. Okay, yeah. The first one isn't there, right? Yeah, the first one isn't there because remember it's 0 index. So this one actually refers to hello. This will be 0. If I were to change this to 0, not 10. If I were to change it to 0, it would actually include this, but I'm doing 1, so that starts at hello.
Yes,
yeah, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 5 indices. Well, there are 6 elements, but the max index is 5. So basically what this will do, you start at 1, which is hello, and then true, and then 5. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is 5, but we don't include this last one. So it's just going to print, I think it's just going to print hello, true, 5, and high. So we'll see. Yeah, so it prints it out as a list. Let's try a new one. What if I did... Can somebody tell me what that will print? Number thing. And hello. Yeah. So, yeah, you're right. So, yeah, this is 0. So you start at 0. You go to 1. Hello. And this is 2. But remember, we don't include that last number. So we're just going to print 3.132 and hello. So you guys are getting the hang of it. So now what if I did just colon and 4? What do you guys think that'll print? Any guesses? Number, hello, true, number. Yes, that is what it'll print. I'll answer your question soon. But yeah, so as you can see here, we start. This is basically saying start at 0. So it's gonna print 3.132, hello, true, and 5. Because 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, but we don't include 4. So it's just gonna print further. All the data in the part of the list that you are printing is the same data type. Will it be written as such? No, it won't be. So we can actually do that. We can just do math. Okay. So these are all strings, right? So if I were to do this, it's still gonna print it as a list, even though they're all strings. Does that answer your question, Aiden? And same with numbers, or integers, or floats. Same thing. Does that answer your question though? Just wanna make sure.
So if it's like you showed an example where it was just hello and it was typed as a string. Is it if it's just a single?
Yeah. So in that, if it's only a single thing, right? Yeah, you're right. So if it's only a single thing, it returns just that thing. So it's just gonna do hi, because we're just pointing at this single element, which is just a string. If I were to make this a number or integer, it'll also print out an integer. But because we're doing this range thing, and there's nowhere we can represent a range as a string. I mean, I guess you can concatenate it, but Python doesn't want to do that. So it's just creating a new list from 0 to 4, which is all this. Okay, so I think everybody gets what that does. What if I did, what will that print? Somebody please type in the chat. We want some engagement. Everything after hey, correct. Because 0, 1, 2, 3, this is our third element, or third index element, and it's going to just print everything after that. So hey, hi, Eric, bad. There you go. So does everybody understand what list indexes are, or indices are, and how to use them, and what kind of stuff they return? Or actually, here's a cool thing. So what if I did that, and then I did variable new list of 1. Let's do 2, and then I just want to print variable. What will I print if I did this? Yeah, right. Or it's camel case, but you're right. So basically, remember this new list. So we're also gonna just print so you guys can see new list. So if we did this, right, as you can see here, new list. I'm sure you guys understand how we got to new list. Hey, hi, Eric, bad. But we're referring to second index of this new list. So 0, 1, 2. So variable is going to be Eric bad, and because we're printing that variable, we print Eric bad. And that's going to actually be whoops. Yeah, so if we did that as Aiden said, it will be a string because it's only referring to one single object. But I don't know if it can print lists, but we'll try. If you do new lists, yeah, so it says lists, right? Because new list is a list object, but variable is, as seen earlier, a string object. So does everybody understand the concept of indices in lists? If anybody has any questions, we can ask now. Any questions? All right. What if the single thing's an integer? Yeah, that it should be the same thing, honestly. Let me go it up real quick. Give me some time. So, all right, we'll change hot. We'll change Eric bad. We'll make it. Oh, what's happening? Oh yeah, Repload's sometimes really glitchy, so just keep it in mind when you code. Okay, give it some time. Repl it, come on. What if I just have P and E in the list by themselves? What do you mean, Siraj? I don't really understand your question. Like 0 and 4. Wait, let it load first. My computer's kind of slow, so. All right, we're here. So let me first answer Aiden's question. So. So 5, right? Yeah. So the single thing's an integer, right? So we make a new list, which is 3 and onward. So hey, hi, and 5. Variables, which is the second index of this new list. which is just 5. And we should be printing that. And then the new list type should be a list. So list, hey, hi, 5, and we print 5. So that answers the dating question. P and E by themselves. I think you're referring to the presentation, this part. So what if I just wanted to have P and E in a list by themselves? If I had a new list just from the strings. So you just want to, if you had a list with different data types, you just want a list with just strings in them. You can actually do that, but as far as I know now, you need to know how to use loops. But we're not going to learn that in this class. We're going to learn the next class. So that question, I can't answer that yet. But just know that you're going to have to use loops, which are a little more complicated for now. And that's actually one of the hardest concepts, I think, of Python, because Python is such an easy language that like everything else is pretty easy. So yeah, I mean, you'll learn in the next class, and that's gonna be like the only thing that you guys do. So
Can't we just like create a new list and then append those two values into the new list he creates?
or yeah, he could do that, but that's so like hard coding and brute force, which is not suggested. So we don't want to give him bad habits, right? All right, so we're gonna move on now from indices. I think you guys all get that concept. So manipulate this. This is gonna be the hard part. So these are all the functions that we can pass on into lists. So far, can you guys type in the chat some of the functions that we learned so far in Python? Any function. Prints 1. There are 2 more I can think of off the top of my head. Type, yeah. There's one more pretty important one. Can anybody think of that last important function? Anybody? Starts with an I.
Input.
Eric, you're not supposed to answer. Yeah, input. And then all the typecasting functions, those are all functions. Yeah, Siraj, yeah, you did it. Yeah, so pretty much anything with parentheses is a function at the end. So these are all functions. And using these, you can actually do a lot of things with lists. These are what make Python lists so powerful and overpowered and stuff. So, you know what? Here's what I'll do. I'm just gonna go ahead and share the slide with all you guys right now. Haven't done this in a while, so, and my computer's slow on top of that. Okay. Anyone with the link? So I'm just gonna copy this and send it to you guys so you can look at the slide and play around with it. Coding language tier list. Yeah, Python is definitely S tier. So I watched a lot of YouTube videos about which programming language is best to learn in 2020. And Python is consistently on top of everything because, look, I mean, of course schools didn't teach it, but the reason why schools didn't teach it, I think, mainly is because first, it's not an object-oriented language, which you guys don't need to know what that means. But also, it's not really that much fun. Like, code.org is more fun to do than this, I think. But if you know decent Python, which we'll teach you, and we'll make you guys see the fun side of Python. So Python, it's good. It's S tier because well, it's easy. It's really easy to. That's what we're teaching. We're not going to teach Java. I don't know how to teach Java. I'm not that good at Java, but there's a reason why we're teaching Python, right? It's easy to learn, very fast, simple. It's really similar to English. And it's also very useful for many career fields. Like, again, as we said in the beginning, like the first lesson, if you want to be a doctor, you can use Python. If you want to be a business person, you can use Python. You can literally use Python for anything. It's so helpful. And in data science, if you're gonna be like a quantitative data analysis, you can use Python. Like, you probably gonna end up using Python 24/7. And yeah, Python can be used in also cybersecurity. You can write a Python script to hack into somebody's account. I've done it before. Well, I didn't hack, but I've written Python scripts that combine with Bash scripts in order to ping like websites and like get addresses and stuff. if you're smart enough, you could probably use Python to take over the world, especially because cryptocurrencies like getting big and everything. I'm not admitting to crime. I did not do any black hat hacking yet. So yet, I might do gray hat, but I don't know. But okay, well, I see enough questions. But yeah, so Python is also really cool, and also it can be used for web backend development, which is basically like if you see a okay, Aiden. I mean, if you see like a website, right? Like Discord or like Wikipedia and stuff like that, right? Everything that you see in the screen is called front end, which is basically written in HTML, JavaScript, CSS, all that kind of stuff. But what happens in the back end is basically what you don't see, like what kind of stuff is processed, like taking in inputs and like it's like outputting it, like what the display, right? The UI. So that's called the back end, and Python can be used to Python can be used to it's very popular to function backends. I mean, JavaScript is getting better, but JavaScript, a lot of people just use JavaScript to do backend development, but Python backend is also pretty popular. You can also create a whole entire websites using Python using Django framework. You don't need to know about that. You can also do a lot of cool stuff like I do. Like so you can make Python pizza box with Selenium, or I'm trying to work on a Discord spam bot. So you can also do that with Selenium. And you can also create graphs by running a Python script, which is I think it's really cool. So yeah, I mean, if we have time at the end, I can show you guys some stuff. But yeah, that's why Python's number one. Number two, I would say, is probably either HTML, JavaScript, CS. I mean, they kind of all go together. I mean, I guess JavaScript is kind of at the top because I think at this point you could probably create like whole entire websites using JavaScript. And also they have so many like frameworks. They have like Node.js and like I forgot all the other ones. They're really functional, very capable programming language, and people trash on it a lot for being a trash language. But I think JavaScript is great, and that's what you guys all learn in school too in CSP. Java is also pretty useful, although it is it's still very very popular, but it's not as popular as like Python. I mean, Python is getting really big real fast. Now C and C++ are boomers, so they're not as popular. But if you have like a MacBook or even Windows, like their OSs are all written in C. So learning C and C++ can get you a lot of jobs too. But Python is definitely number one for now. And a new upcoming language that's rising right now is called Golang. It's like this new language. I think it's similar to Python apparently, but I don't know how to use that. I haven't written a line of code in Golang, so. But yeah, if you guys want to learn a new programming language after, I'll probably suggest like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, or Java. Really, it depends on what kind of field you're trying to get into. But Python is definitely a pretty solid first language to learn. So, I hope everybody has this slide open, and so the reason why I share it is because you guys should be able to see these I guess functions, and you guys should be able to play around with it. So I'll briefly go over stuff. So basically, append. This is probably the most essential thing you use while using lists. So appending is basically adding an element at the end of the list. So if I had a list like hi, hello, hey, and then I wanted to add O at the end of the list, I would do list.append O. I'll show you guys how to do that in Upload later. But that's the basic idea. And in Java, if you come from a Java or I think even JavaScript background, actually I don't know about JavaScript, maybe you could append, I forget. But in Java at least, if you make an array, you can't just casually append stuff. You have to make an array list, which is a different data structure, and that's complicated. So that's why Python lists are so flexible, and you can do a lot of things with it. Now the reason why I box some of these with red is because these are going to be the important ones that you're going to be using a lot if you get into programming. Clear, I don't think I use this a lot, if ever. Copy, I also don't think I use this a lot, if ever. Extend, this is, I mean, yeah, I don't think I ever use this. Count, what even is this? I don't even know. I never thought about it. Index, this is pretty important. Remember how if Mark is here, append. Oh, hi, Mark. I don't know what that means, but sure. So you know how earlier, right, in this slide, hello? Okay. Yeah, so here, if we wanted to like get the item in the list, we call it by the index, right? Well, this index function does like the opposite thing. So we pass in a word, right? And then returns the index of, or not word, item. And then it returns the index of wherever the item is. So if I had a list like, hey, hi, hello, and then if I wanted to find where hey, hi, hello, hi is in the list, then I would pass an index and then hi, and then it would return 1 because that was the index of hi. Pop is just removing element at a specific or specified position. So pop is just, you can pass in a thing and they'll just remove it. It's called pop. I like pop. And remove is basically remove, same thing, but like instead of position, which is index, we're just gonna pass in a value. So like, hey, hi, hello, remove hello. Then hello is gonna go bye-bye. Reverse is stupid. I don't know. I never used it before. Sort is, if you're gonna do competitive programming, it's essential. But you usually don't competitively program in Python, so yeah. But sort is used to sort the lists, which is basically if you have like a list of like numbers like 1, 3, 4, 2, 5, it'll just sort to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and even you can even do it with alphabet. Like it'll just sort it in alphabetical order. So we'll demonstrate a few. So we'll start with depend. So we'll just, we'll keep this list. Maybe delete a little bit. So okay, we have a list here called my list with O and hello in it. So can anybody tell me? Actually, I didn't even show you guys yet, so I should probably do this. So to append something, you do my list, and then I think it's dot append. So basically what that dot means is you're calling upon a function that is of the property, which is a list. So you just have to put a dot in front of append, and then you're going to put in this here, and then you're going to put in whatever you want to do. So Eric bad, right? And the reason why I'm putting strings, quotes, is because I want to make it a string. You don't have to. You can put in an integer here. You can put in a float, boolean, doesn't matter. So that adds on Eric bad at the end of the list. So let's just go ahead and print my list. Now, if you run this, you can see here, Eric bad has been added on to the end of the list. So does everybody understand how we did that? Appending. This is very basic, essential, important, powerful, key concept. Oh, frick, okay. Next thing we're gonna do, I'm not gonna go over any of these ones I didn't circle or box. Next thing is index. So let's say we did this, right? And so now our list is oh hello Eric bad. Let's say I want to find the index value of hello, right? Then I would do my list and then call the property function index. And you see how it's purple? That means you're doing the right thing. Okay, and then I'm gonna call in hello, and then or I should probably print that, or I can assign it to a variable. But yeah, if I did that, what do you guys think that'll print? This line right here. What do you guys think that'll print? 1, right? Because hello's index is 1 in my list, and in this index function returns the index of whatever's in the list. So we're gonna get 1, right? So that's something cool you can do with index. But what if I did something like this, right? It doesn't exist. What do you guys think that'll give us? It gives us an error. It's not in the list. So sometimes when you use index function, you gotta be careful. So yeah, that's that. Next thing, oh, and also index always returns positive, and indices doesn't do negative. So, and then insert. So this basically is like append, but instead you put in a specified position. So we have our list here, and we're just gonna insert. So I think it's the position index first. So let's say I wanna insert this new item maybe at the first index. So let's push it in first, and then we'll add in Python. All right. So what do you guys think this will print? If we print my list after all this is ran, so what do you guys think the order will be? I'm gonna wait because it's a pretty important question. Oh, Python, hello, Eric Bad. Correct. Because you're basically putting Python in the first index position, which is hello. Just gonna say, hello, move over. And then I'm just going to add Python wherever hello is. Now, hello will be the second index if we did this correctly. Yeah, oh, Python, hello, Eric Bad. So that's how insert works. So it's pretty funny. You can also, I think you can also do negative indices here. I think. So I'll just add it on the end. Yeah. Wait, what? Why did that happen? Yeah, actually, I don't know how that happened. I should have added it on at the end. But I guess, I guess appending is default for adding it at the end, so insert doesn't do that. Don't worry too much about that. Pop is, again, removing the element at a specified position. So, don't confuse with Java. I think in Java, pop is removing the last element and removing is actually specified. But if I did pop, unless I want to get rid of O, I just do this. Or, no, I have to pass an index value, I think, right? So I'm going to pop out 0. So that's just gonna get thing, but I'll do this. So instead of the index, I'm just gonna put in the actual value. If I run this, it's just gonna get rid of O. So it's gonna print hello Eric Bad. And sort. So we have. I guess we can do this too. So we'll call a sort on it, and you don't need a parameter for sort. So if you just do this, what do you guys think my list will print? So currently in the list is O, hello, and Eric Bad. So if I sorted it, what do you think my list will print out? Anybody? Eric Bad, hello, hello. Correct. It's alphabetical order. So if I sorted this, yeah. Wait, E F E G H. Wait, hold up. Oh, I think it's because capital letters take priority over lowercase. So if I were to change it to hello, I actually didn't even know about this, but yeah. Now it's like this. Yeah, there you go. Now something that's more casual, more used more is numbers. So if I had a list like this, right, and then I were to print my list, but it's sorted. So what will that print? This should be pretty easy. Can somebody type in the chat? One, 3, 5, 7. Yeah, because it's numerical order. So, huh? What? What? Oh, my bad. My list.sort, it's an action. You can't print an action. So it's just gonna be this. And then that should work. Yeah, 1, 3, 5, 7, my bad. Yeah, I'm kind of bad, so. Alright, so hopefully you guys understood all that. Again, I shared the slides with you guys, so if you guys, while doing homework, which you guys totally should do, you guys should refer to this if you guys are working with lists, because this chart pretty much has everything. It's from Geeks for Geeks, by the way. It's an amazing website for Python and Java and everything. So, cool.
And then, adding on to what he said, there's also more functions you could do with lists, such as finding the length of the list. So if you want to know how many elements are in the list, you can simply just do length in parentheses and then put the list you want, and then it'll print out how many elements are in there. And then there's also the list function, which converts its parameters into a list of objects. So basically, let's say you have a string and it's hello. So if you want, you can also make that to a list. You could simply do it just by saying list, and then you put my string in it, and then it would convert hello, the string, into a list. If you guys can see the example here. And then there's also changing items in a list, which essentially changes the like if you have my list 1, it changes the indice of 1 to S no matter what it is. So if we take hello for example, if we set my list 1 equals to S, the E would be an S instead. And it can work for basically anything.
Okay, cool. So hopefully you guys understood all that. Again, a recap: length returns a list, length of a list. So if my list had like hello, hi.
Sorry, I don't understand.
Sorry, that was Google. If your list has hey, hi, oh, which is 3 elements, right? If the len function will return 3. So if I did print len my list, I would print out 3. The list function converts its parameter into a list object if it's possible. So it only does it for strings, I think, and it doesn't work with numbers. So if you see here, I just did hello, and then if I turn that into a list, it'll turn it into HELLO. Changing items is basically you call the index of my list, right? So, and then I just turn it into S. So whatever is in the first index value of my list now will become an S. So I'll demonstrate that real quick. Because, oh shoot, that's an important concept too. Okay, so here we have I'll just keep it like that. So we know what the sort's gonna give us. So what will this print? Somebody tell me in the chat. And don't forget, we are sorting it before we are changing the value. So oh, my eyes hurting. Yeah, so it's gonna print 1, 10, and then 5, 7. So let's run it. And just like Suraj said, 1, 10, 5, 7. And the reason is because first we sorted. So when we sorted it, it'll be 1, 3, 5, 7, right? And then we look at the first index value of my list, which at that point it'll be, so before we changed it, this was our list. But when we call this, right, that's saying look at the first index value. So first index value is 3. And then we set it equal to 10. So we just change this. Whoops. Oh, I can't. Okay. Yeah, you're changing this to 10. And then you printed that. So that's how that works. So does everybody understand everything here? Everything understand? This is like all of the list stuff we're going to do for today. So, and we're going to do conditions after this, but this is all the list stuff. So does anybody have questions up to this point?
I was experimenting with something.
Yeah.
Like I was trying to like put a data point into the list, and then when I tried to print it, it said unexpected EOF while parsing.
Okay, can you share your screen? Let me stop sharing. Let me stop share it real quick. All right, Aiden, can you share your screen, please? And guys, yeah, like Aiden, just please feel free to experiment with stuff because that's how you learn best, by just spending time doing stuff. All right, there's a presentation. Poland. Insert 1G. Yeah, you can't. Yeah, you're not gonna be able to print because that's a mistake I made earlier, right? When you do Poland.insert, that's an action, right? That's not gonna return anything. So you're gonna have to copy the Poland insert thing. Copy that line other than print, and then make sure you get the parenthesis too. Yeah, and then Control C, and then make a new line between 1 and 2. So 1, 2, 3. To press enter after the line 1. Yeah, and then just copy paste it, and then print Poland. Yeah, and then delete that portion. And you should be good to go. Run it. Oh my. Type object is not subscriptable. Oh, wait. No. So, you don't have to. So, when you declare Poland, right? You said Poland equals lists, but you can go ahead and delete that list because when you do the brackets thing, it's already saying that that's a list, right? So you're already in because remember Python's smart, right? It's not like Java. You don't have to specify which kind of data type it is. So there you go. Python automatically knows that Poland is a list type, not a integer or a string, right? And the list function is only used when you're trying to convert a list. So you can actually go ahead and why don't you try this? Delete the Poland, or actually, yeah. I mean, you get the point, right? The list function just changes a string to a list. So
yeah, I got the point.
Yeah, okay, cool. I'm just gonna go ahead and present again. So anybody, please, if you have questions.
First error.
Yeah, what was it?
I realized that there was a extra parentheses I should have put.
Well, yeah, that was also another problem, but
I just forgot about it.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, usually they give you like a little red squiggly line so you know. But yeah, anybody have any questions up to this point? Because if you do, please ask him right now because this is a complicated concept. And again, while you're doing homework, if you have problems, always search up stuff. I mean, you guys can look at our YouTube videos, look at our presentations. Like you can look a lot of places, but the online is a really good place to look, especially Geeks for Geeks or W3 Schools or Stack Overflow, especially. Those are pretty good sites you can use to get information. So everybody good? No more questions? We're going to move on in like 10 seconds. Just waiting for if anybody has questions. All right. Looks like nobody has questions. Cool. That's good. It's good. It makes me feel good that everybody understood what we're doing. So one last thing about lists. There is 4 collection data types in Python. Collection data types are basically like it's basically like what we did with lists, right? They're kind of like containers. So they're like a combination, like a container of things. So we already know what lists are. So there are sets, tuples, and dictionaries. Sets, those are pretty much lists, I think, but you can't have repeating values in them. Tuples are lists, but you can't change them. And dictionaries are pretty much like English dictionaries, but we're not gonna do sets on tuples. Dictionaries, I think we'll do them next week along with looping. So yeah, we're not gonna be going over sets and tuples primarily because they're kind of useless, but also because I never really cared about using them. So yeah. And this little meme here, that's just saying you can also make 2D lists or 3D lists, which basically are lists inside of lists, which is kind of complicated. If you guys want to experiment with that on your own, you guys can feel free and go ahead. But for now, you guys are not going to need to know that. So we're going to move on to conditionals, our second subject. And this should probably take a little less. So we're going to start.
So our next topic is conditionals. And conditional statements in Python perform different computations or actions depending on whether a specific Boolean constraint evaluates true or false. And conditional statements are handled by if statements in Python. So it essentially evaluates the condition as either true or false. If it's true, it runs what's inside the condition. If not, it skips it. And so the syntax for if statements are just if with the condition. The condition doesn't actually have to go in parentheses. And then you have a colon. And then the next line, you make sure you have to indent this, because if you don't indent it, it won't be part of your condition. And so if it is true, it won't be ran. And then if you look at this picture here, the expression in parentheses is the condition. And if that is true, it runs the statement, which is indented. And then if the expression is not met, it skips everything under inside the if statement and runs the following statement. So make sure like when you guys do if statements, make sure you guys indent correctly too, because that's pretty important.
All right, yeah. So that was a lot, but okay. So I think it's best if I showed you guys directly. Oh my, I keep forgetting that I'm get my other window. Okay, so we'll show you guys. So here's how we use conditionals. It's pretty much like it's literally saying if this, then that in like English, you know. So we'll do if and so basically anything. So you see the space inside the parentheses, right? If whatever's inside that parentheses is true, as in the Boolean value true, then it's gonna carry out the code. So we're just gonna put in true because I'm lazy. So if true, right? We're gonna run it was true. And then else so if I were to run this, right? Anybody have any predictions what this will print out? I know you guys are kind of new to doing this, but I mean, think of it like English, right? It should be pretty easy. What do you guys think this will print if I were to run this right now? Anybody? Nobody? Come on, at least one person. It was true. Done. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Right. That's correct. Because, remember, this condition is true, which means that, remember, colon, and then remember, there's an indent here, which is, in Replit, I think, is 2 spaces, and other IDs, it's a tab. You can just press tab here. What is true? True. Okay, so you can put in anything here. You can even put in, like, if 1 equals 1. Right? But the reason why we're doing true here is because I'm lazy. Like, as long as anything in here, everything in here, like, it inside the parentheses, it values to true, then you run this part. So it doesn't matter. We can put in anything here. As long as it values to a Boolean. And then else, we print this. But since we already ran this, the else doesn't run. So we didn't print, I should probably run this. And yeah, that's why I didn't print it wasn't true, because this already ran, so the else doesn't work. And then print runs because this one, line 5 runs because it's on the same indentation level as you guys can see as the conditional. So this runs regardless. The conditional doesn't affect if this runs or not. So what if I did it's false? Well, that prints. Yeah. I mean, it technically it wasn't true and done, but you get the point, right? So if you run this, it's gonna say it wasn't true and done because first we check if this condition is true, but is it true? No, it's false, right? So we don't run this. We just skip over this. It doesn't even look at it. Then we would just go to the else statement, and then it says print it wasn't true. So that's why I printed it wasn't true. And then again, it doesn't matter. It doesn't care about whatever happened here. This is just existing by itself, right? So that's just gonna print done. Now let's do something that I mean this is pretty. We'll teach you guys this later, but let's do something that should be easier to understand. 1 is greater than 3. Is that true, guys? Is 1 greater than 3? This is a very good question. Very high level math, calculus level question here. What does that evaluate to? What does 1 is greater than 3 evaluate to? Is it true or false? Yeah, it's going to value. Remember, false in Python is capitalized, but this is going to value to false. So when this runs, it's just going to print it wasn't true and done. So there you go. That's pretty much this converts into false, and that's why these two run. So does everybody get that concept? Any questions? No questions. Great. So there are different types of conditionals. So there's a generic if else thing that we did. Also you don't need the else statement, I think. Yeah, you can just have an if statement, but if is the thing that it runs if the first condition is true, as you can see in the little graph diagram thing we have here. And then elif. Elif is a combination of else and if. Okay, so if you did Java or JavaScript, I think it's just else if, but in Python it's elif, right? Because it's just shorter. I don't know. It follows after an if statement, as you can see here, and that just lets you check multiple conditions. So that's basically saying if that's true, right? But let's say that condition was false. Then we go to elif. So it's gonna say else, like because it fails. So else if this condition is true, and if that's true, we're just gonna run this statement, and we won't run the else statement because one of these values is true. And you can have pretty much infinite amount of elifs inside your conditional. And as you already saw, else statements are just whatever runs after the program if everything is false. And you can only have one else and one if per conditional. But again, you can have as many elifs. And else usually always goes at the end of the condition. So we'll demonstrate this. And this is a difficult concept, so I do understand if you have a lot of questions. So here we'll do elif. Actually, here I'll do this. So we're gonna make an integer, right? We're gonna call it num equals 5. Okay. So num is 5, integer value, and we're gonna do if num equals. So in pretty much any coding language, right? This equal sign is used to say is that equal to that. So let's do 6, right? So this is gonna say is num equal to 6? Num is 5. Is it equal to 6? I don't know. We'll figure it out later. And then else if, right? Or elif. And obviously you need to provide a parameter here because let's say num equals 7, right? And then we're just gonna print num is 6. Here we'll print num is 7. Oh, it's not bad. And then let's add another elif just to show you guys how many times you can use elif. Remember, indentation is extremely important. Okay, if you guys did, if you guys did this, it wouldn't run because a conditional always has to start with an if, and this is a nested conditional, which we'll learn about later. But yeah, that wouldn't run. Indentation is extremely important. And we'll do num equals 5. And then colon, don't forget your colons. Num is 5. And then else. And else doesn't require any parameters because that's just the last ditch effort, pretty much. I'm saying none wasn't found, and then again print done. This doesn't really care about whatever happened up here. So if I were to run this, right, what would it print? Num is type done. Right. Because first it's gonna check if num is equal to 6. Is it? No. Else, because that wasn't true. Else, if num is equal to 7, no. Else is num equal to 5, correct. So we're just gonna run whatever is inside of this elif statement, which is print num is 5. And again, the else doesn't run because as long as anything in here was true, else doesn't run. Think of else as a last ditch effort. Like if none of these succeed, the else runs. If any of these succeed, else doesn't run. And then again, we print done because that doesn't really, take any of this into account. So here you go. Num is 5 and done. Now what if I did 10, right? What would that print? Yeah, num wasn't found and done because it doesn't satisfy num equals 6, num is 7, num is 5. And so this last ditch thing will run, and we'll just get num wasn't found. But let's say, remember how to comment, guys? How to use comments, which is hashtag or pound symbol, or some call it. We're just gonna comment this out, right? Let's say the else doesn't exist. Now, what do you think it'll print out, guys? Right, just done. Because again, we don't have that, backdoor, that last ditch effort. So it's just gonna be done because none of these conditionals work. So again, in conditionals, there's only one thing you need, and that's the if statement. And then the second thing that is sometimes and most of the time used is the else statement. But you can only have one of each, right? One if and one else, and you can have as many else as you want. So I hope you guys all understood that the concept of elif. Any questions? Anybody have any questions? Please ask right now, because this is a very difficult topic and it is hard to understand. So I'll wait like 10 solid seconds, just waiting. All right, looks like nobody has questions. Cool, we'll move on. Okay.
And so our next topic is nested if statements. It's a bit different than elif statements. So nested if statements, they allow you to check for another condition after a previous condition was evaluated as true. So it's basically an if statement inside an if statement. So if you guys look at this graph here, so you guys an if statement at the start, so that evaluates the true. You move on to the next if statement, which is going to be inside this if statement, and then it evaluates whether that is true or false and does something. But if you go back to the first if statement and that evaluates as false, it skips over this entire if statement inside that one and then does whatever after. So it's a bit different than elifs, but it's kind of like the same thing.
Eric, do you want to try demonstrating?
You want me to demonstrate?
Yeah, you should try.
All right.
I'm gonna stop.
Let me share my.
We're gonna watch Eric demonstrate now, guys. This is a once in a while opportunity. So yeah, enjoy it while it lasts.
How do you present the screen?
Go to the bottom of the Google Meet, and then there should be a present now button.
All right. Do you guys see my screen?
Yes, you do, Mr. Eric.
Do you see it?
Wait. Yeah, now you do. Now you do.
All right, so I'll do an example for an elif statement. So I'll do if, say, x equals 1, and I'll print, okay, I'll just say hot, right? And then for a nested, basically you would have another if statement like this inside that. And I'll just make another variable called y, say if it does not equal 2. And then it'll print and then I'll set x equal to 1, and then I'll set y equals to 2, and then someone else outside here. Alright, so this would be an example of a nested statement. So first it runs this if statement if x equals 1, would print out high. And then since that's true, it would go into this if statement right here. And then it evaluates whether if y does not equal 2, it prints out lol, and else if it prints out okay. But like, if you look at the start and if you see that x does not equal 1, it skips this entire thing and then moves on to the else if. And it prints out done here. So if I run this, it should just print out high and okay. If you go through this, those are the only 2 true statements. So like, what if I make y equals to 1, what do you guys think it'll print out instead of high and okay? So if I set y equals to 1, what should it print out? Anyone? Yeah, it should print out high and low, because if y does not equal 2, which means anything other than 2, it would print out okay. Alright. I mean, that's pretty much what nested is.
Good job, Eric. Good job.
That was not too great.
Did everybody understand how nested condition? And they're just conditionals like conditionals. It's like the same thing. Did everybody understand that? Any questions regarding nested statements? No questions. All right, moving on. Logic operators. So these are, kind of like, I should probably present.
Present.
I didn't even realize I wasn't presenting. Can everybody see the screen? Can you guys see? Is my screen visible?
Yeah, we can see
Okay.
it.
So these are, stuff that you can use to pretty much, execute your conditional statement, right? So the and is saying if both operands, which are these 2 things, are true, then the condition becomes true. Or if any of these are true, then it's true. Not is reversing the thing. So it's kind of like English, right? If I say I have a water bottle and a piece of gum, right? That's saying I have both things, right? But if I said I can either give you a water bottle or a gum, right? Then I can only give you one of those. So think about it in a coding context, right? So let's see. Let's do, okay. True and false, right? But that evaluates to false because both have to be true in order for that whole thing to evaluate to true. But if I said true or false, then it evaluates to true because any one of those can be, true in order for it to be true. Now, not just reverses it. So I'll give you some examples here. So back to this example. I'll give it another number, num2. We're gonna set it equal to 5, right? And let's say let's set this back to 6. So this is saying if num is equal to 6, and that and is a keyword, so you can't make that a variable name or anything. And num2 is equal to 5, right? Oops. So that's saying if num is equal to 6 and also num2 is equal to 5. If only one of these are to be true, this thing wouldn't run. So if you run this right now, it should print this line right here, right? But if any of these were not true, then it's just gonna print num wasn't found, right? Because and requires both things, both parts, this part and that part to be true. But if I use an or, so or says if this or this is true, then this runs. So this should print or okay. there. That makes a little more sense. So num is equal to 6 or num2 is equal to 5 because it's an or. So it's either this or that. And in this case, num is equal to 6, but num2 is not equal to 4. But it doesn't matter because this is already true. So yeah, not is gonna be let's see. What if we did 5 and then I think it's just not, right? So let's write not. So if not num equals 5, right? Num in this case is just 6. So 6 equal to 5, that's false. But not, that just reverses this, it becomes true. So this statement, although it isn't true, should run because we passed not into it. There you go. Yeah, so those are the logic operators. So I think everybody understands it. It's pretty similar to English. The next thing is also something very similar. This is more math-based than English-based. So I'm just gonna, Eric, you can go to the slide.
Oh, is that my slide?
Yeah.
So these are Boolean operators, and they can be used to return a Boolean value, and they're often used in conditionals. They compare two values and return true or false based on whether the condition has been met. And so the table to the right shows you the Boolean operators there are. So double equal sign means equal to. There's greater than or less than, it's just self-explanatory. And does not equal is just an exclamation mark in front of the equal sign. And then there's less than or equal to or greater than or equal to, which you just put an equal sign after greater than or equal to, or less than.
Yes, it's just like math, right? Except maybe the exclamation point. You guys probably never use this. And again, double equals 2 is what we do. And so, can somebody tell me what the difference between just 1 equals 2 and 2 equals 2 is? Can somebody tell me the difference? Because that's one of the most important things, because it's confusing sometimes. So what does a single equal sign do, and what does a double equal sign do? Anybody have any answers to that question? Typing out might take a while. I suggest unmuting, but yeah. Single sets a value to a variable. That's correct. And what does double do? Yeah. So double checks for conditionals and single just assign stuff. So let's just play around with a few of these. As always, playing around with code is good. I highly suggest doing it, as well as your homework. Please do your homework. I spent a lot of time trying to come up with them, So pay some respect and please do the homework. I'm desperate. Please do it. Okay. Anyways, let's see. Let's just delete all this. It's kind of getting messy. So we'll do we'll just do one for simplicity's sake. So I'll do if num is greater than 5, print yay. Else if these Java instincts. If num is less than 5, I'm gonna print oh no. And then else. This else, there's only one case in which the else would run. Can anyone tell me the one case in which this else statement would run? Yeah. So if num is equal to 5, then it'll run the else, because when it's 5, it's not greater than 5, it's not equal to 5, so this will run. So because right now num is 6, right, it should print yay. Yeah, and then there you go. But if you change it to 5, then as Siraj said, it will print But if you one of these, wait, is it before? Yeah, I think it's after. Yeah. So the equation sign, the equal signs goes after the greater than or equal to sign, or greater than or less than. So this, what will this print? Somebody answer this, please. What will that print? It's pretty simple. It's like 5 characters. It shouldn't take too long to type. Somebody please. I want to move on. What will this print? There you go. Wait, Eric, come on, bro. You can't. Alright, yeah, Siraj is right. Oh no, because that means num is less than or equal to. So because it's 5, it'll run and print oh no. So that's pretty basic stuff. You guys can play around with it and understand. So pretty easy. So yeah, that's it. Any final questions for us before I present our homework assignments? The best part of the whole entire lesson. Any last minute questions? And please unmute yourself and speak up if you do, because typing takes a while and I don't want to waste time. Alright, seems like nobody has questions. So hopefully you guys got all that. Again, this is going to go on to YouTube because it's still recording. But so this will go on YouTube. So if you guys don't understand everything, you can always rewatch our recorded lesson. Or you guys can go ahead and look at the presentation. Or you guys can come in during office hours. And, we can help you guys. Or you guys can just privately ping us or type it in the intermediate chat. Maybe some other people can help you. Yeah, we have a lot of support systems available, so if you guys ever run into trouble, you guys can always get help. So this is our homework. This is my favorite part. My favorite part, okay? You guys have to do this. I mean, you guys don't have to do this. It's optional, but please do it, okay? Because first, it improves your Python skill. Second, it improves your programming skill in general. Third, it's good. It's good for you. I mean, honestly, it's kind of fun to do, Four, you can get credits for doing projects. 0.5 credits. Eric can keep track of that. And we have a revamped submission form. And because we shared the presentation with everybody, you guys should be able to access this. And we will send it out in announcements after. But somebody just left. But yeah, so
What is it?
Austin. It doesn't matter. But yeah, so we have a revamped thing. And now we have a checkbox with the if you want feedback or not. So if you guys want feedback on your code, then you guys can check that off. Because feedback. Some people might want feedback on how they did. So this is pretty important to do. I think people are just leaving. So yeah. Yeah. Please do your homework. So let me explain these homeworks because they're kind of wordy. How is there a 6 input there? Only just input 5 passwords. Oh no, there are 6 inputs, but I'm just saying the first 5 inputs are passed, and the 6th input's going to be the final thing. So there are 6 inputs, but it's phrased like it has 5. It's hard to write these questions. Okay, so the first homework assignment is simply creating your own list of several numbers, right? So you can make it anything. You can do like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you're going to prompt the user. You're going to prompt the user for like 2 numbers. So use input and prompt them for 2 numbers. And obviously they have to be less than the length of your list, right? So if you have like 1, 2, 3, or 5, the input cannot be 100. And then you're going to find the numbers within your list with the index value of those inputs, and you're going to print their sum. So let's have an example, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, and then let's say the user inputs 1. So the first index of that list would be 2. And then let's say the user inputs 3, right? Then that'll be 4. 2 plus 4 is 6, so it should print 6. So, if you guys, Tyler.
Tyler just got a question in the chat.
I answered it earlier.
Okay.
But I understand it was hard to phrase. So, and it'll take up too many slides if I were to like write down examples. So if you guys ever get confused with the wording, you guys can always refer back to the recording. The second homework assignment is taking 4 inputs. The first input is going to be a word, right? Just any word. And then you're going to remove the letter that is in the index file of the second input from the word. So like, let's say the second input's like 3, right? Then my word is, I'll say air bad, right? and then the remove the letter from the index value, that's second input. So if my second input was 3, then the third index of Eric Bad is C, right? So then you would remove C. And then you're going to add the third input, which is a letter, into the position with the index value of the fourth input. What that means is, right now we have Eric Bad because we remove the C. So third input is going to be a letter. So let's say the letter is like S. And then the position index value of the fourth input. So fourth input, let's say that's like 2. So then we're gonna put S into the second index position of Eric Bad. That'll be ERSI bad, right? Because you didn't put it in. So yeah, that's just how it works. It's just basic stuff. And then the last one is probably the easiest to understand. You're gonna take one integer and put that between 0 and 100. And print out the letter grade of that input. So if it's like from 90 to 100, you're going to print out A. If it's 80, 90, it's going to print out B. 70, 80, C. 60, 70 is D. And then anything below is E. And we're not going to do F because we're Howard County, okay? In our project here, all right, this is a juicy project. It gives you credits. So the assignment is you're going to have the user input 5 passwords. Right, any 5 passwords. It can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then like A, B, C, D, E. It can be I hate school 1, 2, 3 or something like that, right? Then if the 6th input, right, this is gonna be your final input, is one of the inputted or actually there could be 7 inputs, but I'll explain that later. So the 6th input is gonna be like an attempt to crack the password, if you will. And if you crack the password, if the 6th input is one of the inputted passwords that you already did, you're gonna print login successful. But if it's not incorrect, if it's not correct, you're gonna actually have them try again. So you're gonna try again and give the user another chance to print out the input and to print out input the password. I can't even speak, right? So that's how it's gonna work, right? So for example, right? Let's say my passwords were like, I'm just gonna make only 2. I don't want to do 5 because that's just gonna confuse me. So. Let's say our 2 passwords, the 2 out of 5 passwords we're gonna do is like hello and also 1, 2, 3, right? So let's say the 6th input was hello, right? Then obviously you just print login successful because that was one of the passwords. But if the 6th input, right, the first attempt was like something like Eric, right? It's not one of the passwords. So you're gonna try again, and then you're gonna prompt them again to enter a password. Like giving them another chance. And then let's say they input like 1, 2, 3, which is one of the passwords. Then you're going to print login successful because they did it right. But if they do it wrong one more time, you're just going to say you failed or something like that. And they're not going to get to try again. So that's our project. It requires some thought and it's hard, but it's good practice. And this is going to be the link. Again, this is shared. So this should you should be able to access this pretty easily, and we will send it through Discord announcement, so you guys will be getting that. And that's our homework. And please do your homework because like the why we made this club in the first place was so that we could the initial goal was we can go to like public facilities in our local community and like actually teach like new people like little kids or middle schoolers Python. Or not Python, but how to code in general. Because, people need to, like, I feel like I would have benefited so much more if I started coding maybe like in 7th or 8th grade. So that's why that was our initial plan. And because COVID and everything, I can't tell you guys the specifics, but the board is going over some plans of what we should do instead of like actually going to like libraries and getting COVID. So we are going to be doing those events, and we will be giving opportunities for you guys to volunteer if those events happen. And we will only take volunteers that have a good understanding of Python. So that's the reason why you guys should learn how to code in Python. And also because we might, like, depending on how many members we have by the end of like Corona or when school starts, we might actually just have not board members, but we might just like ask the club to, if anybody's like proficient in Python, then we might ask them to be like tutors or something. So that can also give you credit and possibly a future board position and stuff. So, there's a lot of reasons why I should do Python. Obviously, the most important reason is because, self-improvement, right? Python is really helpful. You'll get good at it if you practice. So please please do your homework. And I don't want only 2 people submitting their homework this time. I want like at least like 4. Come on, like, you guys can do it. It doesn't take that much time. So there you go. And Eric, you can finish it off.
Great, thank you guys for coming. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, and then visit our website if you guys want more information about us. Yeah. And then on Tuesday, 8 through 8:30, we actually have an office hour. If you guys have any questions, just come and ask us. We'll be there.
Yeah, and credit sheet's available, so you guys can go ahead and check your credit sheet. Eric is responsible for updating it, so if you guys don't see your credits updated on it, you can go ahead and blame Eric and ping him and spam him all you want. All right. So yeah, we are done. I think that's slide 16. Yeah, we're done. All right. Thank you guys for coming. Please do your homework and have a great week.